Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, where you will hear from the movers, shakers, and changemakers that are moving Greater Burlington forward. Here is your host, Stephen Brody.
Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington. The Community Foundation of Des Moines County was formed in 2006. The founding members of the organization had a vision to ensure that our community's charitable programs were supported now and in the future. They worked together with many individuals, families, businesses, and organizations to establish endowment funds that will provide grant awards for years to come. The main purposes of the Community Foundation of Des Moines County are to build community endowments, be a resource for a broad range of community needs, and to assist donors by offering a variety of giving options. And it's a pleasure to have with us today Michelle AbouAssaly, Executive Director, and Chad Palmer, who is the current chairman of the board, to tell us more about all things happening at the Community Foundation of Des Moines County. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Steve. Thank you.
How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much. We hear a lot about the Community Foundation, so obviously you're doing a great job getting the word out, but it's always nice to get it out more, right?
Absolutely.
So fill in the blanks of what I didn't with that introduction. Tell us more about the Community Foundation.
Well, you're absolutely right. It was a great synopsis, and that is what we're here for. We are really excited about the growth that we've had in the last few years with our funds, which just gives more money back out into the community in the form of grants to nonprofits. And so we, this year, in our grant cycle, we were able to give out just over $100,000 to nonprofits in our area that applied during our grant process.
Yeah.
So we're just thrilled with that. And that is with money that from the Margaret Hanson Community Impact Fund, from the Wilson Family Foundation, from the Michael Mickelson Foundation, and then also an allocation from the Southeast Iowa Regional Riverboat Commission.
I think that's what makes the Community Foundation different from other foundations is it's our entire mission to help build a better community. So, and with all of these other funds, we have over 40 funds right now, right at 40 funds right now, and they're all with that in mind. There are some that want to help homelessness, for example, but building a better community. And I think that's the reason that got me excited about even being a part of the board. It's just that it's an opportunity to actually make a difference.
Yeah. You said you're up to 40 funds. So how does a fund come into existence?
And let me start that with this. The Community Foundation is also unique is that any donation to a accredited community foundation is also an endowment, and any endowment is then has a 25% Iowa tax credit available.
Nice.
So, and I love this. Our annual what does it say? Annual report. I was trying to come up with the right words. It just gives an example. If you gave a $100,000 donation,
yeah,
you get a $25,000 Endow Iowa tax credit from that, so 25%. You also get to deduct it $75,000 from your federal deductions, and then you have the tax savings from that. So your net cost of that $100,000 gift, $47,000. That in itself is why folks should give to this thing, but give
huge
to the Community Foundation. Yeah,
huge
the benefits
on both sides
financially, but the thing that gets me really excited and jazzed up about this is that it's forever. Mm-hmm. So that $100,000, and where is that, Michelle? You did such a great place showing what that thing is worth over the years. Just 15 years from now, that $100,000 can grow 2 to 3 times more than what it is right now. And giving
through
away
interest?
Yeah, through the interest, and because it goes into equities and other investments portfolio or investment products, if you will.
Yeah.
To return, and we've been averaging 6% or better every year. Right? I mean, 8% is not unusual for our averages.
That's excellent.
So that helps that endowment create the money that we give away every year.
Yeah.
But the endowment lives on forever and it keeps growing.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's super exciting about it. Take the endowment that was created for the Lightscape project downtown, for the project that lit up the Great River Bridge that we can see out the office here.
Yes.
And the churches downtown.
Yes.
There was an endowment created for the simple purpose of being there to, one, provide a funding source for the maintenance of that project. So if a light fixture fails, et cetera, they can take care of that over the years. But it's also there so that 20, 30 years from now, when that light system needs to be replaced or updated, there's going to be funds available for that.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to get something like that done without a resource like the Community Foundation.
So then talk about, if you focus on that one, then again, how do the funds continue to grow in that? Is that strictly from interest, or can people contribute directly to that endowment?
I'll let Michelle answer that.
Yeah. So no, when a fund is set up, you can continue to people can continue to donate to that. And as Chad said, when people do donate to one of our funds, they are eligible for a 25% Endow Iowa tax credit, which is a huge benefit to the donor. But it also benefits the fund or the organization. So in this case, and with the distributions each year, as you're saying, how does that work? How does it go into forever?
Yeah.
Because with our funds, the group can take out 4.5% distribution each year.
Okay.
So that allows for the continued growth. So there is a max that they can take out each year in order for it to continue to grow for years and years and years to come.
Yeah.
So, and that's the nice thing. In fact, one of our funds, I actually just heard, a few months ago that they said the distribution letter came at a perfect time. They had just come on to a large expense that they weren't expecting with their organization. And when they received the letter letting them know what their distribution was that year, it was almost exactly that amount.
Yeah.
And she said it was just such a relief knowing, and I thought that is exactly what this is for. It is for an organization potentially for an unexpected expense, or they can plan for it and plan a project that's needed. Different, and that's what it's meant for. It's basic, to maintain that organization. Recently we just added 3 new funds this year. We had the Burlington Fine Arts League endowment, which unfortunately the Burlington Fine Arts League no longer exists, but the money that was left over in accounts, we opened a fund, and it's going to continue the mission of the Burlington Fine Arts League.
What I love about that is that the mission or the reason for that organization to begin with carries on forever now.
Exactly, and now it's going to continue.
Let me jump in for a second. Is it written in a way where if a situation like that happens, you have that flexibility where you can redirect, or you can still focus it in a similar direction?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that is exactly right. If an organization ceases to exist for whatever reason, and in this case, they didn't have the fund previously, but we established it after the fact with leftover money. But if an organization does cease to exist, the money can be continued to be given out with the same stipulations.
Okay.
So, for instance, with Fine Arts League, the whole mission was funding the fine arts in our area.
Yeah.
The fund was written in the same way, so it continues to fund any fine arts type grant that we receive in our.
And I'll add, that fund is also available for anyone in the public to add to it. Mm-hmm. So if you were someone who donated, for example, to the Burlington Fine Arts League, and you still wanted to support that program, this is a great way to do it. You can add money to that particular fund and know that it's going to keep supporting Burlington Fine Arts.
Yeah.
And same way with the Margaret Hanson Impact Fund is our biggest fund like that, where it's there for building this community out and making it better. But Steve, let's say you have a passion for great sidewalks, and you create the Steve's Sidewalk Fund.
Yeah.
Then you could write it so that it only provides funding to projects that build sidewalks.
Right.
and I don't know that this is truth exactly, so Michelle will have to back me up here, but let's say you only wanted to build 6 foot wide sidewalks. I'm sure that could be written right in there. But it can be that specific, or it can be really vague or broad, I guess is the right word, like the Margaret Hanson Impact Fund.
Yeah.
That allows for a lot of flexibility in projects that get funded in the community.
Right.
The other part of our mission is really to help bring the funds together with the nonprofits.
Yes.
And help the nonprofits understand that we're available, because the foundation doesn't just fund nonprofits. It also funds, how do you say this correctly? The public identities. So the city of Burlington, the public school district, Des Moines County as well. The only real restriction is that it has to be in Des Moines County.
Right.
So that's the other thing, is that we're trying to get more outreach to understand that the borders of Des Moines County are a lot more than Burlington, Iowa.
Absolutely.
And to help those folks in those areas carry on a legend, in our community, I know as growing up, and I know it's still a big part of Burlington being where Burlington is and funding special projects, the Whitty Foundation. It's been around since I don't know when, way before my time. But that's an endowment that continues to provide for this community. And to have a legacy like that, that's part of the attraction, I think.
Fair or unfair question. Have you ever said no to somebody who wanted to create a fund for a particular reason?
No, I have not had.
Haven't had to anyway.
You're
up to 40.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I've only been around for 2 years with the organization, but as far as I know, I really think that, things can be, like Chad's saying, as specific as you want, or as, very loosely written, so that if it's, if you're want to prevent homelessness. It can be, there are many organizations, for instance, but it would still be within the stipulations of your mission. And so there's so many different great organizations. This year we also opened a Southeast Iowa Symphony Fund, and that is, to again, an endowment to continue that organization to continue for years to come. Yeah. So, all different types of missions. We also have the Refugee and Immigrant Fund.
Sure.
We have a lot of Ukrainian immigrants that are coming to Burlington, and it's fantastic. And this is a way to help, and so it's all different kinds. The Marvin Mickelson Fund, that we mentioned, he's no longer living, but his mission and what he wanted is continuing, and he stipulated exactly which organizations he wanted funded each year. But then he also granted to our grant committee. He also gave the leeway for our grant committee to be able to grant out money from his fund, but with the stipulations and that he wanted, which was prevent homelessness and domestic violence and those sorts of things. So it is amazing. If you really want to create a legacy, it really is the best way to do it. And
I'll add is that those organizations like Southeast Iowa Symphony and the Fine Arts League and things. There are organizations out there right now that are maybe struggling with finding board members, struggling to grow, those sorts of things. Because just once a fund becomes a part of the community foundation, now it's part of an organization that's there to rise the tide of all ships, right? So we're trying to help get the word out on all of those things. So if there's an organization out there that is looking for, gosh, how could we make sure that this continues on forever? There's no better way than the community foundation.
Can you walk me through that? We touched upon it a little earlier. I was wanting to ask that question. So whether it's the symphony or it's Steve's sidewalk fund,
I got you thinking. See?
You did because it's something that I could be there for perpetuity now.
Yeah.
So somebody contacts you and says, "Hey, I would like to create this fund." Mm-hmm. What happens from there? Can you give a synopsis of like the process to then make that from idea to reality?
Sure. We have an application that's very simple application to fill out that basically kind of walks you through so that you can make your stipulations on what you want to see in your fund. And then from there, we take that information and then we kind of make it, we have a lot of different types of funds. And so we take your information, figure out what the best fund is for you. Maybe it's an agency fund for a nonprofit. Maybe it's a donor advised fund, which it's an individual. We look at the application, we work through our host foundation, and come up with the contract, with the agreement, and then we go from there. It's really it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, for some people, for some endowments, in order you have to get a lawyer and you have to, all these things for endowments or for foundations. And, we kind of take care of all that for you.
Yeah.
So it's really very simple.
Is there a minimum amount in order to open up a fund? Like if Steve's Sidewalk Fund or whatever, like
Right.
what's the lowest amount that I could start
generally,
with?
we basically say 10,000, and the only reason for that is because if you want to start the distributions right away, like
Yeah.
each year, realistically 10,000 is probably the best place to start, just to be able to get start receiving those 4.5% distributions each year.
Sure. And in your role, Michelle, as executive director, how much do you need to know? There's a lot of financial that goes into this. So do you come into this with a financial background, with a lot of knowledge coming into this, or do you have to surround yourself with others who know the ins and outs of this?
It's really both, to be honest. I actually do have a financial background. I worked for Goldman Sachs in Chicago before moving to Burlington.
Okay.
It's been a while, but it's come in handy for sure. But I also do, of course, surround myself with people who know much more and can really I lean on a lot of people just to make sure that things are correct and that we have a great finance committee. Everybody on our finance committee it does have a financial background. We work closely with Two Rivers Bank, and so they're a huge help as well.
I'll even add that our host foundation does a great job as well. They've got some fantastic people there.
Yes.
I think you'd probably have to have some attorneys as well that are involved.
Yes.
Wouldn't you?
Well, we have attorneys on our board as well. So we have everything is really it is a very smooth application process. It's a smooth transition. We're able to really help people a lot. And sometimes a lot of these nonprofit groups, everyone's a volunteer. And nobody has the extra time to deal with those sorts of things. And so I have seen too that people are like, can you just take care of it, and that sort of thing. And that's great. And that's what we're here for. And, and just to help nonprofits as much as possible.
Yeah. Michelle, help me if I'm not correct on this, but it can be setting up a new fund has a few more steps in it than say, Steve, you just want to give $100 to the Margaret Hanson Impact Fund.
Sure.
That's a super simple, super easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You still get 25% of that back as a tax credit, believe it or not. I say that way because, even as little as $100, you're still going to get a letter that says you're going to have $25 of that as a credit.
Yeah.
But you can do that as simple as just going to our website.
Yes.
If you just Google Community Foundation of Des Moines County, don't just say Des Moines.
Yeah, right.
But of Des Moines County, it's cfdmc.org. But it's easier just to Google the full name. And you'll see there's a way to just donate to and you can pick the fund you want to donate to. And the donation can be as little as, I think, $5. I mean, it can be as little as you want or as much as you want.
We receive, and we've talked about like this $100,000 gift, but we receive gifts from all different amounts.
Yeah.
And we have, our $100 annual donation to the 100 Plus Like Minds group, which that money all goes into the Margaret Hanson Fund, which we use to grant back out. We also have a Cornerstone program where it's a $1,000 $1,000 a year donation. So we have all different.
There's a big variety.
We do. Yeah. I mean, we even, actually have had a few people who've in their will have, set aside money in their will to the Community Foundation. And also in obituaries, we started to see where people are listing a fund within the Community Foundation or just the Community Foundation in general. And that's fantastic. That way you're benefiting either a specific group or the Margaret Hanson Community Impact Fund and all different groups.
You read my mind, because that was actually something that I was going to ask you, is that it's got to be surprising, comforting, and a blessing when you get that unexpected correspondence in the mail.
Yes, it is.
And it's like, this person has designated and you may not have known that person.
Right.
But the fact that they cared so much that they put it in their will, and they're saying, now here's a distribution that's coming to the Community Foundation.
We actually had one come in the mail that was out of state. And it was somebody who wrote in their will and their estate that it was a percentage to come back to Des Moines County to the Community Foundation. And I mean, it was so fun to open that, when you get those letters in the mail. It's a fun surprise. Is
there, one of the questions I always love to ask my guests is, Michelle, is there such a thing as a typical day for you?
No, it changes every day. And I love it. I mean, I get to talk to people, who are passionate about their organization and want the best for their organization, and how can we get this done? Yeah. Or, just a fundraising campaign, I know another, we have so many great funds, but, a few, that come to mind that are currently in, fundraising needs, for instance, is a Heart Song. I mean, that's a fantastic organization. I mean, again, it's all different types of organizations, and that's what I love. I mean, it's helping, a variety of different organizations, and that's what's so great about it, and that we're able to help everybody.
And explain again, Chad or Michelle, the funds that are available that you then give back through the grants to the nonprofits. Explain again where those funds come from. How do they become available?
So through our grant cycle, it's the 4.5% distributions that are from the Margaret Hanson Community Impact Fund. Mm-hmm. And again, like the funds that we raise from the 100 Plus Like Minds group goes into that. Then also the Dennis Wilson Family Foundation, which is another fund, he has very generously donated his distributions back to the grant committee through that. The Marvin Mickelson Fund that we discussed earlier, he also granted his distributions to the grant committee. Wow. And then this year, we also have an allocation coming from the Southeast Iowa Regional Riverboat Commission. Okay. So it's a handful, I have to say. And so, so combining all that money, like I said, we were able to grant out over $100,000 this year.
And I know that you said it was a significant achievement that you were able to fulfill all of the requests. Isn't that right? That all of the organizations
this year,
yeah,
we did,
and that's not always the case.
We weren't able to fulfill all of them this year. We did have a couple that we weren't able to, and I have to say, we also received a lot more applications. Okay. And so that,
great.
Yeah. And so we're, which is fantastic. We're getting the word out, and that's what we want. And we've seen new organizations that have never applied before. Yeah. And with that, it does become a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
So we can't, always say that we're going to be able to grant every application we receive. And we would love to, and we hope to continue to be able to give out more and more every year. But it is becoming a little bit more competitive as more and more organizations apply.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem. It's a good problem.
Yeah. Is there anything that we don't know about the Community Foundation? Is there something that maybe you still need to get the word out on that, hey, don't you guys know that we also do this, that this is available, and that you have to maybe remind people about?
Well, it kind of reminds me of something I want to make sure to talk about was our events that we do that's specific to the foundation. And it starts in the spring with our 100 Like Minds Spring Edition. And then last year we added 100 Like Minds, subject to my heart here, the Bourbon Edition, which is in the fall. And that may graduate to other things that we do during that event. But both of those two events are key to just building up that impact fund, that Margaret Hanson Impact Fund.
Yeah.
And then we have our grant ceremony, which we're working on making it a little more of a ceremony. And just a little more public than what it was. Because I think that has been the most important thing, although there's a list of about 100 of them that Michelle has done in her time here. But just making folks aware of that the Community Foundation is here and what we are capable of doing. And I think seeing all of those grant requests this year, and the largest number we've seen, is testament to that. It's showing that we are getting that word out, although it feels slow because I feel like we should just have a pile, on the desk of grant applicants, and then every year have to really toil over who gets funded and who doesn't get funded. I think that would be a way better situation than going, holy cow, we got more money than we have grant applicants for.
And yet at the same time, I'm sure there's angst in having to turn someone down.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can see it in the faces of our grant committee when that happens. They really don't want to have to turn anyone down.
Yeah. But, well, I like the idea about making it more public. What have you done previously then? Have you just done a press release, or you just...
In the past, they have done a grant ceremony, but again, it was only, it was a small amount of organizations because there wasn't as much money available to grant out.
Yeah.
So every year our grant ceremony has grown, but it has always been just the grant recipients coming, and we hand them a check and we kind of discuss, they give a brief description of their project and whatnot. So this year we're making it a little bit bigger event. We're going to have it at the Capitol Theater. And we want more people to attend. We want not just the grant recipients, but the
hopefully
community.
Donors will show.
It should be a community celebration.
Exactly. So that's what we really want it to be, a celebration. And just the fact that we are, just as an example, last year we gave out almost $70,000. This year we gave out just over $100,000.
Wow.
So it really, we're really excited about that. We really want to make it known and celebrate it. And, and again, we are planning to give out more in
next year should be more.
Yep.
Without giving anything too much away, but we should have more to give away next year.
Exactly. Yes. So there is more to come.
Are there more funds on the horizon that you know about?
Well, we are in search. This community needs another Whitty, essentially.
Okay.
And we're searching for that family, that particular donor that could make, there are community foundations that give away millions every year.
Sure.
And can you imagine, even let's just cut that down to $500,000 a year. Can you imagine what $500,000 would do for this community, for organizations like there's a long list of them here, so I hate to mention any of them because I don't want to say that anyone's more special than others, but all of the foundations, all of the community projects that would be out there that could be funded if we had something like that. How much better would our community be? And I think when you go to other communities and you see things happening like local art, the art installations is a good example. Those don't get there through public money. those get there through private money, and a lot of it is things like community foundation. So we are in search of that person that's capable, loves this community so much, and person or family, organization, even whatever it may be, that could create a fund like $5 million or $10 million fund. That imagine that. I mean, if they put $5 million into a fund or $10 million into a fund, an endowment that lives on forever. Mm-hmm. And they could give away $400,000 or $500,000 a year from that.
Oh my gosh!
Holy cow!
Dare to dream, huh?
Yeah, and I challenge anyone who's hearing us today to, if you know that person, make sure they understand what the community foundation can do for them, and for this community, because that's when what I always use this phrase, but that's when the magic happens, right? Is when $100,000 is a big deal to the community. But imagine if it was $600,000 or $700,000 or $1 million a year.
And also, and it's not just cash. We are also able to take donations of land, of grain. We have a gifts of grain program, really? And I really would like to get that.
I forgot all about that.
We're in rural Iowa. We have to have somebody who can give grain. I just think that would be fun.
Gifts of grain. Wow.
Stocks, cars, other assets, any asset really.
Right. Exactly. So there are there are so many different ways to give, not just cash.
Yeah.
And I think that is, you would say, what do people not know? I would say that's what people.
I think the gift of grain is one, right?
Exactly. Who knew? Right.
Yeah.
Farm equipment. I mean, there's so many different things. That through the Community Foundation, they have these programs available.
Absolutely. So, Well, I know that you mentioned the website. Is there any other contact information you want to give out? Is there a phone number in particular? If people want to contact the foundation, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we recently moved into new digs. We have a new office at the F&M Bank building. I forget. It's on the second floor, Suite 217. So there's that. Yes. But I really think, and then we have the foundation, the emails and things, which are all on our website.
Sure.
Probably the most effective way to contact us.
Yes.
Would you agree, Michelle? Or
I would say, also my number is 319-572-1125. For any questions or if you want to meet and hear more about it.
Sure,
yeah, absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, Michelle and Chad, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
It's been wonderful to learn more and get a more in-depth knowledge and understanding of the Community Foundation. And I hope that those that listened have a even greater appreciation. And maybe there is that person that's listening that has that disposable $5 million
so. For our community. I hope so.
that they can now contribute to the community. So it's been a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you are listening to our podcast, and give us a call at the Greater Burlington Partnership if you have any ideas or suggestions on future guests. Until then, we'll see you next time on All Things Greater Burlington.
You have been listening to All Things Greater Burlington with Stephen Brody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all new episodes. To learn more about all things Greater Burlington, visit greaterburlington.com/ATGB.